Welcome to the live stream. I'm very happy to be here. I've never seen this establishing shot so busy. Really? Busy? Like, oh, it's because I have the downward facing camera sitting down. That's probably what it is. That's all. It's not any different than it normally was. Welcome to the live stream, everybody. It's very nice to be with you here on a Sunday afternoon. We're gonna make this bingo card thing a regular thing. I'm having a lot of fun with it. If it stops being fun, I'll stop doing it. That's my philosophy of living. Really, I highly encourage you to lean into that. But here's my bingo card for today. You can generate your own bingo card using the link pinned in the chat. And we can play bingo. We got a question, which is, Crom, that is not true. Just because my property's a FRIA, it does not mean anyone can show up there and fly at any time. That is not true. Yeah, you can generate your own bingo card. We just have fun. There's no prize. It's just fun. And someone asked, what is your favorite bingo card or bingo option on today's card? So let's see. I haven't seen some of these. Blunty's added some of these. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. Here's my favorite. Here's my favorite. And in order to demonstrate my favorite, I'm going to go to the overhead cam. Oh, wait, that's one. Bardwell switches to top-down cam. Got it. And I'm going to answer. I just thought I would show you guys today's watch. Sometimes we do a little watch-related content. Is this? Hold on a second. Hold on. This is fucked up. Wait 1 second. Mode. This is the wrong mode. The camera doesn't look right. There we go. Now the camera looks right. Color temperature was wrong. That's more like. I know you guys probably can't even see the difference. I could. I was like, that is the wrong profile. I am happy to show this to you guys because I built this. I built this. Out of parts I bought on AliExpress. Literally every part of this watch was bought on AliExpress. And I'm super excited about it, and I'm happy to be wearing it today. I think it's a gorgeous little piece. Yeah. I even popped out the crystal because I found, now this is pretty reflective in here with all the lights, but I found the stock crystal that came with this case way too reflective, unusable to my eye. And so I bought an aftermarket crystal and upgraded it, and I'm super excited. I really wanted an SKX style case. And, yeah. Nice little, I think it's 120 click bezel. Yeah, click it. Here you go. Here we go. Got a little ASMR there. Yeah. Little Yachtmaster style bezel, SKX style case. Got it all, got the bezel perfectly aligned. Very proud. And I selected out all the parts to make it look just like I wanted a blacked out watch. And so, probably got about $200 in this, all in. Maybe a little more if you count the upgraded crystal. I'm super happy and super proud of it. So, yeah. And yeah. I'm constantly tempted. I'm tempted to like start making watchmaking content on a second channel, but I think I would run out of. I would stop being interesting for too long, and I'm just not sure I want to turn that into content production. Oh, look, Bardwell talks about watches. Whoop! I'm just not sure. I kind of just want to maybe enjoy it instead of turning it into work. There you go. Anyway, there you go. Happy to share that with you guys. That's how we're going to kick off the stream today, and give people some bingo squares. Yeah. Hoax, welcome. Hoax says this is my first live stream since joining the Discord. Thank you for being a patron, Hoax. Thank you for joining the Discord. And yeah, how long did it take to build the watch? They go together pretty quick if you know what you're doing. Maybe an hour or two, roughly, perhaps.
This is if you purchase a movement.
Oh, yeah, no, correct. Oh, correct. I mean, no one's going to build their own movement in this day and age. Like, if you can't, I don't even know how you would build your own movement.
I know that if you assembled a kit with a movement, and as opposed to like buying a movement that's put together and then using the movement.
Right. I mean, you can buy movement assembly kits for people who want to learn about watchmaking. And it comes with all the parts. Actually, what they do is they sell you a movement, and then they give you instructions. What they recommend is you start with a movement that you know works. Okay? You have a working movement, and then you disassemble it, you break it down to parts, and then you put it back together again. And if it still works, then you did good. And if not, then you know you broke it. I don't know why this page won't load. But you can buy, I'll go to AliExpress. The typical way that you would do something like this is you would buy the movement, because building a movement from scratch is just silly. Like, you can't even really buy parts. You would just buy a movement, and you would farm parts from it mostly. Most commonly, it'll be a Seiko movement. They're the most popular one in the modding community. So this one, I believe, has a Seiko NH35 movement. You would buy the movement, and then you would buy a case, in a style that you like. And then you would buy hands that you like, and I see movement, case, hands, and a dial. You would need a dial. And you would pick a dial that you like. And, that's basically you get that stuff, and then you just sort of slap it together. The process of putting it together, it takes about an hour, I think, maybe a little more if you count. I had to pop the crystal and replace the crystal. And then when I popped the crystal off, I broke the bezel, so I had to replace the bezel. So, but a couple hours. It's a pretty fun little hobby. So. Yeah. Okay, bye-bye, Mark X2C. Came for the FPV talk, left because of the watch talk. Okay, bye-bye. No, you don't need to announce your departure. This is not an airport. You can just go if you don't like the content for my chat. Yeah, you could just leave. It's so easy. You could build watch from AliExpress, yeah. Yep. The keyword would be mod watch or Seiko mod watch. And there's this whole scene of watch modding. Pretty slick. I believe I'm owed, let's see, does that count as Bardwell calls out a chatter? I think it does, so I'm going to have to give myself that score. But I am not going to give it, what was it, Bardwell? No, I don't see that on here, so, okay. All right. But we will get to the questions. Joseph Tahari, I am tempted to take apart and build a movement. I will say, I don't know if I've ever shown this on stream. Maybe I did. I'll do a tiny bit. Your channel. Wait, hang on. I've been tempted to build a movement or take apart a movement. How far back do I need to go to get this video? I had a situation once.
I don't know if you can even see this, but
where
what causes it? So, a little doohickey here presses against a cam that starts and stops the chronograph, and I know this because I
almost
took
broke
apart
a watch,
a correctly working one, to look at it and figure out what had gone wrong. And this little arm here.
This is the closest I've ever gotten to working on a movement.
Hold it in place, but it has slipped up while I've been jacking around, and it's no longer, and I just need to push it out and down.
I'm so proud of this.
This may not be the right tool.
Thankfully, I had bought 2 of this watch, one for me and one for another friend as a gift.
There it is.
And so,
and now,
when one of them broke, and the button wasn't working, I opened the other one up and looked at it and was like, wait, what's different? And I was able to see that this little tab had slipped off. That's the closest I've ever gotten to working on a movement, but maybe someday. Anyway, let's get on to the questions, though. Scott Stevens says, I just received my GX12 and saw it's your daily driver. That is correct. GX12 is my daily driver. To arm using the 3 position, do you use the middle position or the furthest up to arm? I use the furthest up to arm. My thinking is that I want to be as far as possible from accidentally arming. So you could say that middle and up is arm, or you could say that middle and down is disarm and up is arm. And that's how I do it. Okay. I want to be as far as possible from accidentally arming when I didn't mean to. Now, there are people who will overload that switch with other functions. For example, somebody might say that middle position is armed in acro and up position is armed in angle. I would never do that. Technically, yes, that would work, but the problem is that I don't want to be screwing with the arm switch and accidentally disarm when I'm meaning to do something else. I don't want the arm switch to do anything other than arm and disarm, and that is that. Skydozer says he swapped the 3 position for a 2 position. That would be something you could do. You could buy an aftermarket 2 position and swap it in. Yeah. There was another question from Scott Stevens who says, switch change to 2-position type? No, I'm kind of lazy. I don't care that much. I'm just going to make it work the way that it is. I'm not going to swap it out. The other thing is that when I work with my radio in a video, there's a certain value in having my radio be factory standard versus something that I've modded. Now, I do mod my radio sometimes when I feel like the trade-off is worth it. For example, I do have external antennas on my GX12, okay? But a lot of times I'll just leave the radio standard so that it's relatively standard and matches what people have when they're watching my videos. And in this case, it's just not worth it to me to change out the switch. Betaflight shows ARM as a 2-position. The reason for that is that Express LRS always makes channel 5 a 2-position, makes the arming channel 2-position. So Express LRS by default expects channel 5 to be the armed channel. Arming is channel 5 high, disarm is channel 5 low. There are some subtle reasons, like people sometimes don't do that. They put arm on a different channel and they get away with it. But there are some subtle things that don't work quite right if you don't do it the way Express LRS expects. The reason that they make it a 2-position is that then it only has to be represented by 1 bit. 1 bit in the packet format. And they put the arming channel in every single packet. And it's either armed or disarmed, 1 or 0. And that way, the minute you hit disarm, the very next packet, it will know that it's disarmed. And that's why it's a 2-position. You can change that. ExpressLS 4.0 gave you the option to use another channel as your arming channel if you prefer to do that, but whatever. And it does mean that you lose that channel for any other functions. You could theoretically, if that was a 3-position or a full N-position channel, you could use it for other things. But I don't mind giving up 1 full channel to arming most of the time. It's not that big of a deal to me. Yeah, so there you go. Does this make arming or disarming a 2-position move? It's a 2-position move, and I just manually set it up. So that high is armed and low is disarmed, and then mid, you may need to manually set the channel up so it's low is low, mid is low, high is high, right? You may need to set that up in the radio. I'm not sure whether I've done that or whether it defaults to mid is low. I don't know about that, but there you go. What are the best wide patch antennas? Wide patch. What does wide mean in this context? Rupert Willard, what do you mean by wide? What are the best wide patch antennas? I think you maybe mean wide beam width. I can say that the TrueRC X2 Air, is specifically designed to have a wider beam pattern. I don't actually see. He did
say wide. He did say wide beam in the chat. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you for calling that out, Plenty. So this is made for the DJI FPV, but there's a version of the X2 Air for anything. And the thing about the X2 Air, I wish we could get a beam pattern off of it. Circular polarization, X2 Air 5.8 Mark II. There we go. And so the X2 Air is going to have a little bit narrower beam pattern in the vertical axis. And is it wide in the horizontal axis? It has a nominal, I think it's about a 30 degree 3 dB beam width with 13 dB of gain. So is that wide? There's an interesting way that some people talk about antenna beam width in the FPV world. And this relates to your question because by another definition, the beam width is relatively wide. So the standard way in antennas of discussing beam width, can we not get a better image? No? Okay, fine. The standard way of it almost seems like it is lower resolution than it was. Maybe because I zoomed it in. What if I do this? That's not that much better. Oh well. The standard way of talking about antenna beam width is, so this is the direction that the antenna is aimed, and then you come around, and as you come around, it gets weaker and weaker and weaker, and when it is 3 dB weaker, then we call that the beam width, okay? So if it's plus or minus 15 degrees, it's 3 dB down here, it's 3 dB down here, we're going to call that a 30-degree beam width. But here's the thing. Let's say we've got a 13 dB antenna. Now your typical FPV antenna is, let's say, 3 dB. That's just a default Omni antenna. So if I have a 13 dB antenna, and I come around to the 3 dB beam width point, what's my effective gain at that point? It's 13 minus 3. It's 10 dB. Do you see that at the 30-degree beam width, I'm still 7 dB stronger than I would have been with my standard little Omni antenna at 3 dB. So what some manufacturers will do is they will call the equivalent beam width, or they'll make up some marketing term. And what they'll say is that your 3 dB beam width is 30 degrees. But if you actually compare it to an Omni antenna, you might be more like 60 or 70 or 80 degrees. Or maybe even more, 120 degrees. And I don't think, as much as I would normally just be like, that's bullshit, stop trying to make up marketing terms that make your specs look better, I think that that's actually meaningful as long as you understand what they're doing. What they're saying is, if you had an Omni antenna, you would have 360 degrees of beam width. So if you go to this directional antenna, in what size of arc are you getting any gain whatsoever compared to an Omni? Versus everything outside that arc where you're getting worse performance. And I do think that's useful. So although this antenna has maybe a 30-degree beam width, that's the 3 dB beam width. And if you compare it to an Omni antenna and ask, in what size of arc am I getting any gain whatsoever? It's probably relatively wide, although I don't know the actual number. I'm not sure that Truus actually does that. Hold on, I have to kill Telegram because Fabio is messaging me, and I don't know how to silence Telegram. Stop. Ah! This is dumb. Open volume mixer. Can I just find Telegram in the volume mixer and mute it forever? Telegram desktop. Mute! There we go. Done. Great. So, anyway. Wider horizontal beam. So if you're looking for a good patch style antenna with a relatively wide beam width, I would steer you to the X2 Air Mark II. That's just the first one that comes to my head.
People are bingo card baiting and really stretching for bingo cards.
Hopefully I'm glad people are enjoying the bingo game, but hopefully...
Marco said, is that a technical issue? The Telegram thing?
Mm-mm. I say no. I'm the one who decides if the bingo square... God damn it! Got him! No! I don't think I did. There's a fly in here. It's driving me crazy. Ooh! Free Lojo! Ooh! I shouldn't... This is more bait, but I already got the square. Damn, son! What is that? Do you own that? That's nice. That is beautiful. Rebos. I don't know that watch. We actually have a channel, Daily Watch Pictures, on the server where people post pictures of watches. Oh, Mr. Anderson is building watches with a glowing mother of pearl dial. Beautiful. Yeah. Cute. Oh, man. I haven't checked this channel out in a minute. Oh, is that a seagull? I think that's a seagull. Oh, maybe it's not. What is the brand? I can't see. Merkur. Oh, I do know that. I know Merkur. Yeah. Ooh. Oh, that's the new No, is that the new Premiere? I'm not sure about that. Anyway. Anyway. Yeah, cute. We started with daily cat pictures and daily dog pictures, and then when I got the Mustang, it expanded to daily car pictures, and then we got it basically as I get a new hobby, we add new pictures channel. I have to go back, Plenty. I clicked off. I'm sorry. I have to click back on the live stream chat. That's my mistake. Live stream chat. There we go. All right. Continuing on. When should you change your propellers? When they are so dinged up and banged up that they affect the way the quad flies. That's going to be different. Like if you're trying to film a cinematic masterpiece, I would want to be on fresh props basically every time I fly because I wouldn't want to take a chance of screwing up my footage with vibrations. But for typical cruising and freestyle flight, the propellers can be fairly beat up before they start making a difference. What I look for is vibration in the camera, visible vibration in the camera, then that's probably going to annoy me and I'm probably going to change it. Or when there's so much vibration that like there's a risk that you'll get a flyaway or you'll smoke a motor or you'll shake something loose because of the vibration. Are you going to do a review on the HD0 Box Pro anytime soon? No. And I'll tell you why. I love the Box Pro. The Box Pro is amazing. The Box Pro is basically just a box version of the HD0 Goggles 2, which I did review. Okay? The Box Pro is going to cost me $400 or something, roundabouts $400 to buy. And I don't think there's enough value to me as a YouTube creator in making a review of the Box Pro, which again is basically just a box version of the Goggles 2. So we already kind of know many of the things we need to know. I'm going to spend $400 buying the Box Pro. I don't want the Box Pro as something that I use the HD0 goggles, and HD0 has not felt that it was beneficial to send me the Box Pro for me to review it. So for all those reasons, I won't be reviewing it, but that doesn't mean I don't think it's awesome. I do think it's awesome, and I think it's one of the best values in analog and HD0 goggles compared to other like box goggles or even non-box goggles that you could buy. So there you go. Are the HD0 Goggles 2 worth it for analog? I feel like this question might be bait because I've made my position very clear about this. The HD0 Goggles 2 are 1000% worth it, even if you never fly an HD0 drone in your life. However, if you fly analog, they're fantastic for analog. Frankly, they're fantastic for walk snail. If you use the standalone walk snail receiver, because they have a highly optimized HDMI input that adds a minimal amount of latency, like single-digit amounts of latency. So in many ways, they're the best all-around FPV goggle you can get. If you do buy them and use them for analog, I encourage you to try an HD0 Whoop, and or if you're into racing, 1000% go over to HD0 for your racing drones. As far as for general cruising and freestyle, I find the penetration of HD0 to be insufficient for my uses for sort of general flying and freestyle, but for racing and whoops, HD0 is exceptional, and then you could just use analog for the times when you need that extra penetration. That's what I would do. Let's see here. Here's a super chat from Scott Perry. Thank you for $5. And for the super chat, Scott Perry. When long-range ridge flying with GPS, elevation shows 1,000 feet, return to home set to 300 feet. Will return to home instantly dive into the ridge, or does it follow the ridge elevation? Scott Perry, I can tell you this. If you're using Betaflight or iNav, it has no concept of ground level. Okay? No concept. The return to home altitude is based on altitude relative to your takeoff location, or maybe the home location. I'm not sure about that. In Betaflight, the takeoff location is always the home location. In iNav, there is the possibility to change the home location while in flight. And if you had the return to home altitude set to 300 meters, and then you flew up to 200 meters and set a new home point, what would it do to the altitude? I don't actually know. But setting that aside, okay, the way that it works depends on how it's configured. If the return to home altitude is set to a fixed altitude, then the aircraft will climb or descend to that altitude above the home location and then return to home. If it is a multi-rotor, it will simply climb or descend in place. If it is an airplane with iNav, it will do a loiter turn, and it will climb and descend while in the loiter turn. However, no matter what you're talking about, the aircraft has no concept of the terrain, okay? So if you take off and you're flying at 300 feet and there's a 600-foot ridge directly off to your right, and it starts a loiter turn, it will just fly straight into the mountain. It has no concept of AGL, above ground level. It is possible in ArduPilot to load terrain information into the aircraft and have it maintain a certain height above ground. I don't know how to do that, and I've never done it, but I have heard that it's possible to do it. And like, for example, does that only load the terrain height for your specific waypoint mission? Or is it just you load a general terrain map in, and no matter where it is within that square, it knows its height above? I don't know. But like I can tell you, Betaflight and iNav do not have the ability to take terrain altitude or above AGL into effect when they're doing autonomous flight. So, yeah. There you go. What analog channels are not being interfered with by Wi-Fi? Asks Palopoika 1343. Race 7 and Race 8 are not interfered with by Wi-Fi. There, in Europe, in theory, it can go up into those frequencies, but I think it usually doesn't. In the USA, it does not. Do you know the cheapest way of building proper race gates? I gotta say, PVC and fabric is the cheapest way. It just, like, if you want to, you can skip the fabric and just do the PVC. Some people will buy pool noodles. I don't know if you can buy pool noodles in Europe or if that's just an American thing. I think the fabric is very worth it because if you've got the pool noodles and you hit the PVC pipe, a lot of times it'll still break the PVC. But if you have fabric, that gives you like a 1 foot margin. So you're aiming for the fabric, and if you miss and you hit the fabric, you oftentimes won't hit the PVC and won't break the PVC. But PVC is really the way. But the PVC is expensive. Like I just bought, for a project my wife is doing, I just bought some sticks, some 10-foot sticks of 1-inch PVC, and they were about $10 a piece. To build a race gate, I believe if you want a 5-foot, is it a 5-foot opening? Or is it 4 foot? The reason I'm confused is I know that sometimes I'll build them smaller in order to make it harder to hit and make you a better pilot. I believe it's a 5-foot opening. And it's a shame because with a 5-foot opening, you need 6 foot tall and 7 foot across the top. And that doesn't easily, you basically end up sacrificing a 10-foot stick of PVC. Basically 3 10-foot sticks of PVC for every gate, which kind of sucks. Whereas if it was a 5-foot, 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 you could get 1.5 sticks of PVC for each gate. So like if I was trying to save money, what I would do is I would build a 5-foot square out of PVC. I would not use fabric, and I would just cover it with pool noodles and then some maybe duct tape to add a little bit of resiliency to keep the pool noodles from being chopped up. And then it's going to cost you basically 1.5 sticks of PVC. In the US, they're 10 feet. I don't know what the length of PVC is in Europe, but like just basically, if it's roughly 10 feet, do roughly 5 foot and figure out. They basically make it half, make the height and width half a stick of PVC, whatever that is. And you'll come out from maybe like $20, $25 a gate, and hopefully it'll be okay for you. As soon as you get into the fabric, two things happen. Number one, the fabric isn't super expensive, but it's not cheap. I would buy the fabric straight from the MultiGP website. I assume that they also sell in Europe, but I'm not sure. And then if you try to DIY the fabric, I think it's just not worth it. You end up with something inferior, and it's probably not actually that much cheaper. And then the other thing with the fabric is it forces you up to a 6-foot and a 7-foot stick, and then you end up buying a lot more materials. I'm being told that I missed a bingo card. Let's see. Question about radios. Yes, somebody asked about the GX12. That counts. Question about radios. Let's see. What else? I think that's it. Yeah. There you go. Did I mention? I don't have Discord mentioned on my bingo card. You don't have the same things on your bingo card that I have on mine. I definitely mentioned Discord. You got to just mark it off. But I don't have that, so. Top left. Oh, shit! Thank you, Plenty. Oh, yeah. And also, thank you, Marco. Does that count as Bardwell was wrong? When I said I didn't.
Question for me.
Yeah, sure. I'm not going to give myself Bardwell was wrong. Yeah, go ahead, Plenty.
In chat. Okay, I'm going to put it up on the screen.
If motor KV and as a derivative actual RPM we need commas. We need commas, people. Depends and comes from the windings of the motor, then how does Betaflight determine RPM from ERPM and magnet quantity only? Yeah, that's easy. It doesn't matter. For the sake of this question, it doesn't matter how the motor RPM is derived. The motor RPM is a function of many things. It doesn't matter what those things are. Suffice it to say that the motor is spinning at a certain RPM. And the ESC is commutating the motor. And in order for the commutation process to work correctly, the ESC has to know exactly when to sort of fire the pulse of electricity through the pole, right? So the ESC is detecting the magnet position when the back EMF voltage peaks out. The ESC knows that it needs to fire the commutation. It fires the commutation, it slings the magnet, and then that magnet approaches the next pole, and so on and so on. So the ESC knows how many times per second it is commutating or firing a commutation cycle. If you then take that and you multiply that or divide that by the number of magnets on the bell, that's the number of RPM. Because it fires the commutation cycle once each time the magnet passes the stator. Right? So there you go. Basically, RPM equals, so ERPM is the number of times per minute that the ESC fires a commutation cycle. In other words, the number of times per minute that a magnet passes a pole on the stator. And then if you multiply that, I think it's multiply that by the number of magnets, but I'm not actually sure if it's multiply or divide because I don't know, because, there you go. Does that answer the question, Blenty?
Yes. Yeah, I was trying to explain that ERPM is literally the physical rotation amount. You just need to divide it by magnets or multiply it by magnets or whatever to get out the actual RPM. And he's like, well, why is it called ERPM? Why isn't it just RPM? And that's the number of rotations. And I'm like, because it depends on the magnet count. Windings have no factor into.
Yes, correct.
Windings have no factor in this because what we're doing is looking at how many times the bell actually spins. Like, because we're seeing the magnets pass by, because like you said, the zero crossing is detected through back EMF. So,
yeah. Yep. So ERPM is just a fancy name for the number of times per minute that the ESC fires a commutation cycle. That's all. It's not really an RPM. It is only tangentially related to the RPM of the motor, which is what we think of. So that's why we call it ERPM and not RPM. So, hello, Fabio. Good to see you there, buddy. Thank you for Fabio's my editor. For those who doesn't know that Fabio's my editor. I want to just be clear that I am not going to give myself Bardwell interrupts Blunty. I started to interrupt him, but if that counts, then no, that doesn't count. I didn't interrupt you there.
Hey,
I let you keep talking.
Real quick, I'll just say, David, we can't spend the whole stream on this, but suffice to say, you are confused about what we're saying. You either need to watch it again or check another source maybe to get another reading on it, so maybe you can understand what we're talking about.
He's right. All 5-inch motors have the same magnet count, 14 magnets. And the conversion factor of ERPM to actual RPM is 14 for all 5-inch motors. Yeah. Blunty, does this count as Blunty calls out a chatter? I think it does.
Definitely.
Okay,
Yes.
Blunty calls out a chatter, yes. Blunty interrupts Bardwell. I think no. I don't think that was an interruption. He just stepped in. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page as we're scoring our bingo cards. Okay. Oh, I'm on the correct scene already. Thank you for 5 Swiss francs from Fabio Pansera. Not a question, but I saw the F1 Austrian GP today. They finally used an FPV properly for 90% of the broadcast in a specific fast turn. That's awesome. I'm tempted to pull that up and look at it, but I have a feeling that the F1 people are very protective of their footage, and if I show F1 footage on stream, then I will get a copy strike or something, so I'm not going to do that. Yeah, I'm also not surprised that they only had it for one turn, because those cars outrun the FPV drone pretty freaking quick in the straights. So, thank you, Dan and FPV, for £2, 2 Great British pounds. How to become a better pilot in 2026. The answer to how to become a better pilot is the short answer is stick time. The people who consistently make good progress are the people who are passionate and enjoy flying the drone. And then the other thing you need is you need to be in like the growth area of your skill curve. So if you think about it, there are things that are easy for you to do successfully. Okay. And if you spend all day doing those things, you will not improve. You will mostly maintain, but in reality, you'll actually degrade a little bit. Okay. There are things that are impossible for you to do correctly. And you don't really improve very much if you spend too much time doing those things, right? It's like, I've been playing Elden Ring. Again, I got back into Elden Ring. I think I told you this recently. My son started playing Elden Ring, and then he played it for a couple weeks, and then got moved on to the next thing, and I got back into it. And I'm currently in NG+, so I made a cheese build, and I just bullied all the bosses. I was like, fuck this, I'm just going to kill all these. I got so frustrated when I first played it, like in 2022. I got so frustrated because I was trying to get good, and I'm not good. I got frustrated, and I stopped playing. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to make a cheese build. I'm going to bully all these bosses. I'm going to kill. And I had so much fun just running around, and the boss would come out and be like, I'm big and tough. And I'd be like, no, screw you. Donk, dead. Donk, dead. It wasn't quite that simple. I had a fantastic time. By the end of the game, I was super over-leveled. I was super OP, and I didn't care. And then I went into NG+, and I was like, okay, I'm going to try and be a little more skill-based. And so I've been working my way. I'll go into a boss, and I won't know the boss's moveset at all, and he'll just immediately kill me. Okay, And if I were to just keep doing that, bringing this back to FPV, if you just keep throwing yourself into an area where your skill level is so far below what's required that you just crash or the boss just kills you, you don't get better. It's just over before you can learn. So in order to improve, you need to be at a point in your skill curve where you're just a little outside of what you're comfortable doing. And that's going to push you to get a little bit better. I like to say, if you're flying and there is 0% chance of you crashing, you're not trying hard enough. If you're flying and you're just crashing in 2 seconds, you're trying too hard. And if you're flying and the whole time you're flying, you're like, oh my God, I'm about to crash. Oh my God. Oh, I did it. Oh, that's where you want to be. That's the sweet spot where you are getting better. As soon as you feel comfortable, try harder. I mean, but sometimes it's just nice to feel comfortable. Like, we don't have to be sweaty every minute of every day. And you go back to the Elden Ring example. At a certain point, I was so like sweaty and grindy that it stopped being fun. And I quit. And if you're at risk of that, stop immediately and just do something that you enjoy, because that's what carries you through the sweaty, grindy parts. Okay? Anyway. So that's how you become a better pilot. Number 1, consistent stick time. Number 2, identify things that you want to be able to do that you currently cannot do, and then take bite-sized steps towards those things, so that at each step, you're a little bit out of your comfort zone and you slowly sort of expanding your comfort zone. There you go. That's the short version. Shortish. Not that short, really. Blunty, is Bardwell mentions video games on the bingo card? Or I suggested
No.
Maybe it's mentions video games or plays video games on stream. I do that occasionally. I feel like that should be a bingo. No. All right. We got a super chat here from P. Jin. Says Swedish kroner, 100 Swedish kroner. I need help choosing a frame, all-in-one flight controller, and motor for a sub 250 gram custom Cinewhoop that supports analog, DJI 04 Pro, GPS, and receiver. I have a hard time finding the Speedy B25 and the Gepard CL25 in Europe. So my first question is, why aren't you just buying a pre-built Cinewhoop? Pre-built Cinewhoops are very good. And the thing about Cinewhoops is that they're so integrated. So maybe you say, you know what, I like this frame, and you buy that frame. Well, guess what? You probably might as well just buy a bind and fly that comes on that frame, because it's probably as good or better than anything you would build yourself, and it's probably cheaper than doing a DIY build. When it comes to a 5-inch drone, I mean, this might be true for 5-inch drones as well, but like maybe you want a frame that like isn't available as a bind and fly or something. Maybe you want specific parts on a 5-inch. But when it comes to Cinewhoops in the 2 to 3.5 inch size class, my advice is usually to just buy a bind and fly. You're probably going to come out ahead. But then, if you're looking for a flight controller, what about the Flywoo Goku? By the way, you're trying to find it in the EU? Good luck. I mean, maybe. I mean, I think the sooner you just give in and say, look, I might have to buy from China, then the better you're going to be in this hobby, because like it's hard to find a lot of this stuff locally, but you can always just order it from China. So the Flywoo Goku is a pretty good bind and fly, pretty good all-in-one flight controller. 40 amp AIO, is that overkill? I don't think it's overkill for a Cinewhoop. Can I just, no, Flywoo Goku 40 amp AIO MPU 6000. Very nice. $50. That's a good price too. Yeah. That'd work really well for a Cinewhoop, I guess. I mean, that's just the first place my mind goes. As for motors, what was it, 2005? You're looking for a sub 250. I'm guessing it's going to be a 2.5 inch. So let's look at the Geprc Cinelog 2.5, which is a power system on that is fairly mature. What motors does it come with? So this is how I start answering these questions if I don't have an answer off the top of my head. 1404 4500 kV for a 2.5 inch. That seems about right. So I would probably, is that for 6S or for 4S? I'm going to guess it's for 4S. So that's a good starting point for a 4S motor, 1404 4500 kV on a 2.5 inch. And if you're trying to be sub 250, I mean, you probably can get sub 250 on a 3 inch, but I feel like it's going to be easier on a 2.5 inch. Really Good Bad Boy wants to know, would you go with the all-in-one or the Goku Mini stack? For a Cinewhoop, I would go with an all-in-one every time. A lot of Cinewhoop frames aren't really made to support a stack. And basically every Cinewhoop you get today is going to be an all-in-one. And where is it? I know it's here. FPV store page shown on screen. Got it. Question about frame choices? Blunty, what do you think? Was that a question about frame choices? I mean, it did mention a frame.
I mean, you had to go through frames, or you'd at least discuss frames. I think that.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, okay. It touched on frame choices, but it wasn't specifically. I guess that feels like it's fair. I give it that one. I, however, did not comment on prices because that $50 for the all-in-one was pretty freaking reasonable, honestly. So, let's see what we got here. When building a drone, how do we know what size props to get? This is an interesting question, and it's not going to have a super satisfying answer because it's not like a question where you could just boil it down very simply. I think that the answer is that you go by the weight of the drone. That you start with the weight of the drone, okay? And for every size prop, there is a rough weight range where that prop makes sense. You know what? Actually, I think we can do this. Hang on a second. I think we could. This is actually, I have an idea. I got to open a full document. Wait 1 second. Interesting. So this is a spreadsheet that I made once upon a time. I haven't published this. I wonder if I might put this out on my Patreon. I made this. Somebody hired me to make this. And so I've never published it because if somebody comes to me and they hire me to make something and then I immediately just go put it on my YouTube channel, I feel like that's not like the way to do it. It's been a while since that happened. Maybe I'll put this out to my patrons. So what we do is we start with the all-up weight of the drone, okay? And then we calculate the disk loading. And this is why I wanted to come to this spreadsheet, because disk loading, so what is disk loading? You take the diameter, you take the area of the disk, the prop disk. So if you have a 5-inch prop, that's a 5-inch radius of a circle. Pi r squared is the area of the circle. And then you divide the weight of the drone into the disk area, and that gives you what's called prop loading. And that is one of the major ways of kind of summing up how a drone is going to fly is the disc loading of the props. Actually, you take the number of props. You take the sum of the area of all of the props, and then you divide the weight into that, and that's your disc loading. So let's say we have an all-up weight of 2 kilograms. Let's just say 2 kilograms. I don't know, for like a 7-inch drone. So then you take the diameter of the prop, 7-inch, and it gives us our disc loading. Okay? And long story short, a disc loading greater than 25 is too high. Like the thing will barely fly. And if the disc loading is below about 18, then you probably could go down to a smaller prop or use a larger battery, so increase your all-up weight. So in this case, with a 7-inch quadcopter at 2 kilograms all-up weight, the disc loading is 13. So, okay. Well, either I could still fly with a disc loading of 13. It just means that I'm going to have a super low hover point, and it's going to be like a little more agile. All right. Could I go down to a 6-inch prop? Yes, I could. 6-inch prop, disc loading of 18. That's just about perfect. Could I go down to a 5-inch prop? Oh, look how the numbers worked out. Isn't that convenient? With a 5-inch prop, this thing will like barely get off the ground. It will fly. But I'm going to be killing the battery. The motors are going to be hot. It's going to be a mess. And it won't fly for very long. But it will fly. So it seems like for a 2 kilogram all-up weight, we're going to be about a 6-inch, maybe a 7-inch prop on a quadcopter. And although you don't have this exact spreadsheet, you could do that math pretty easily.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, Blunty.
Does disc loading have any effect based on pitch or number of prop, like a 3-blade versus 2-blade prop,
Nope.
or like a high or low pitch prop?
Nope, not at all.
Okay.
Now, the number of props and the pitch of the props does affect the overall performance of the aircraft. Like the amount of thrust that the prop will make, that stuff does matter. But what we're doing here is we're trying to like boil this down to the barest fundamentals so we can start getting a grasp on like how to design our power system. Okay? And so we just like forget about all that. Like you see, the very next place we go is prop pitch and prop blade count and then battery voltage. Okay? But we just start with, I have an all-up weight. And the reason that I wrote the process this way is that I thought, what is the single most driving thing where you start with when you're selecting props and motors and batteries? Because like sometimes you say, I want to build a 7-inch drone. And you say, okay, well, if I'm going to have a 7-inch prop, then what motor should I have? Like that is a way. Sometimes you say, I have a motor. Like you were just going through your closet and you found these motors. And you're like, I don't know, what drone should I put these on? So like that's not the only way to do it. But a lot of times in the real world, you'll say, I have a camera. Let me Control Z this. I changed this calculation here. There we go. I have a camera, and my camera weighs 1 kilogram. It's a cinema camera. I don't know if that's a... My camera weighs 1 kilogram. I want to carry that with a drone. How much should the drone weigh? And what prop am I going to use to carry that? So a lot of times when you're designing a power system, it will be driven by the weight of the thing that you want to carry. Okay? Or you'll say, I have a drone, and it's going to have a certain all-up weight. What props and motors should I use to carry it? So that's how we approach this. Those things do matter, but like you have to start somewhere. So that's where we start. So if I go, did that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, essentially you're just trying to estimate, but you're not going to actually know anything about thrust to weight if you don't know the pitch or the...
That is true, but when I worked on this spreadsheet, I looked at a whole bunch of actual builds. builds that ready to fly drones, bind and fly drones, etc. And also other information about, because there's not a lot of bind and flies in the larger size classes. And I talked to people in the industry who were testing 24-inch drones, 15-inch drones, 18-inch drones, and had actual test results for flight time and throttle position and so forth. So, and what I tried to do was just be like, look, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just give me a starting point. And so that's when I say that, disc loading greater than 25 and lower than 18. Like I kind of, those numbers are kind of arbitrary. Like if it was 16, would it be okay? If it was 26, would it be okay? Right? But again, we're just trying to sort of start somewhere. And yeah, you won't know the actual thrust to weight, but like I feel confident that if you have a disc loading of 25, it's going to fly like a pig and it's going to be at 50 or 60% throttle just to get off the ground. Right? Like that's highly likely. Some of this, by the way, was based on Chris Rosser's work. Like I started with Chris Rosser's video where he talks about disc loading and he breaks out a whole bunch of real builds, but his disc loading only goes up to like 6 or 7 inch props. He doesn't go higher. So like if you don't have that spreadsheet, here is, I just searched for quadcopter disc loading calculator, and here you can see I can just come in and I can calculate my disc loading. So my weight of my drone, 2 kilograms, prop diameter 7 inches, disc loading. I think this is assuming a quadcopter. Yes, 4 quadcopter. Disc loading 20.1. Okay. Hang on. That's kilograms per square meter. Mine is in inches, I believe. So these numbers are not comparable. I'm pretty sure that mine is in kilograms per inch, per square inch, not square meter. So we would need to convert to use the 18 to 25 guideline that I give here. We would need to convert from kilograms per square meter to kilograms per square inch, but that's an easy conversion. Okay. Oh, this is fantastic. Look at this database right here. Here are actual disc loadings for a whole bunch of real-world drones. That's very useful. We see that the very light ones have extremely low, or the very small ones have extremely low disc loading, mostly. And then look at this. And we get into the larger ones. Now the disc loading, you see disc loadings 9, 13, 11, 18, 18. This one is 30. Cinolog 2.0 with naked GoPro, disc loading 30. That's way over 25, but it still flies. So clearly there are some outliers, and there you go. Interesting.
What formula is this using again?
What do you mean?
Like I guess the problem I have is my understanding is you don't know anything about the load unless you know the thrust. Isn't disc loading thrust based?
Nope. The definition of
disc over area, isn't it?
It is. No, it's weight over area. It's weight over area.
Okay.
So area relates to thrust, right? But and this goes back to Chris Rosser. Chris Rosser disc loading. I don't think that's going to give me the exact video. How to choose the right props for your quadcopter. So this started for me. One of the places I started when I was working on this project was this video from Chris Rosser, how to choose the right props for your quadcopter. And he goes into disc loading. Is it this video? I don't actually think it is. It's the
when
motors.
I see weight, in the definitions I see online, when they say weight, they mean the thrust.
No, it's the weight. It's the weight, not the thrust. It's the all-up weight in grams. For sure. Like if we look here, drone weight in kilograms divided by prop diameter in meters. Oh, yeah, that's silly that he does it in meters. Just do it in inches. Everybody does props in inches. You're just thinking about a different thing. You're thinking about a different metric. But disc loading is absolutely the all-up weight.
Okay, let me put it another way.
Yeah.
Does the weight change with the thrust?
No. The weight of the drone is just what it is, regardless of how much
But
thrust the
isn't it
motor's doing.
minus the thrust?
No.
Like that's why I'm asking. Okay.
Nope.
Like, because
Nope,
aren't
not at
you?
all. Not at all. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. Go ahead and say what you're gonna say.
The assertion, or I would call it an observation. But if you're not convinced, you could call it the assertion. And is that? Hang on. Is that disk loading describes how a drone will fly regardless of how much thrust it makes. Now, that's within realistic parameters. If you give me a 6-inch prop or a 5-inch prop or whatever, and you say for any sort of real-world realistic range of KV values and tip speeds, we know that prop is going to have a maximum tip speed. And in fact, actually, Rosser talks about tip speed as well. For a given prop, we want to optimize the tip speed, right? We want to get to a higher tip speed up to the point where we lose efficiency. So for a given prop, there is a certain optimal tip speed that the prop will achieve, okay? So if we then assume that the motor KV is going to be selected to produce that approximate tip speed, then the amount of thrust that the prop makes is going to be within a certain window, okay? And so then we say that the disk loading is going to produce a thrust to weight value within that approximate range, okay? Does that make sense? I'm making this up a little bit as I go. I'm kind of remembering some of it and then, synthesizing some of it.
Yes, kind of. I think I'm confused because I think what we're talking about is in a hover. So there's no, right?
Well, disk load, yeah, like in reality, how will that manifest? If I'm like in free fall, then obviously there is no load on the prop disk. Yeah, no, this is a synthetic metric that is in some ways, I suppose you could argue, being used as a proxy for thrust to weight. But the idea
of spherical cow situation, right? Like, because like you're
Yeah.
never doing that, right? So like
Yeah.
when you're like as I understand it, as soon as you're not hovering, disk loading is based on thrust, not weight of the drone, because your load is different on the propeller.
But the disk loading that we're talking about here is not a measured quantity that is happening in the real world. It is a synthetic quantity that is being used to start the design process. So if we know that a 5-inch prop will produce a relatively narrow range of thrust, right? Then we know that for a given all-up weight, the approximate thrust to weight will be within that window. And rather than thinking about all that, we just use disk loading as a substitute for all that. And we say we're going to shoot for a disk loading between, say, 18 and 25. And 18 disk loading will have a relatively high thrust to weight ratio and be very agile, and 25 thrust to weight ratio will be relatively heavy and less agile with shorter flight times. And then we're going to just go from there. And then, of course, when we select an actual set of props and do actual flight data, we will continue to refine that. But as a starting point, I think you're right that disk loading is a proxy for thrust to weight. But since in the beginning you haven't picked a motor, you haven't picked anything, we're going to just start with disk loading as a way of kickstarting the design process.
Gotcha. That's the difference. Is we're talking about some design disk load idea to build versus actual disk loading, which will change based on these various factors.
At the same time, though, like I think it's like if you look at this chart from Chris's video, and you say, and now granted, many of these drones are a little outdated because this video is from 5 years ago, but you say, okay, I'm going to look at the Beta FPV X-Night 5, okay? Has a disk loading of, where's the red line? Disk loading of less than 4. It's got an ultra low disk loading. I could guess that thing is going to be super light and twitchy and like have awesome acceleration. And you show me this drone, the ProTech 25, which has a disk loading over 14. And I could say, oh, that's going to be a little bit heavier and a little less responsive, you know? So I could still start to generalize ideas about how these drones are going to fly based on their disc loading.
So just to be clear, to sort of back up again, and maybe you sort of said this, so just to restate, the idea here is that because you don't know anything about the drone otherwise.
Correct.
You
I don't
need
know
a
how much.
metric
I don't
to
know how
start.
much. Yes, I don't know how much thrust this motor makes because I don't know.
I see.
They didn't publish thrust tests for this motor and this prop. Since I don't know that, how can I start to characterize how the drone's going to fly? Well, I know the
You're taking
diameter of the
some
prop, and I
metric.
know the all-up weight. I can just take the disc loading, and it gives me something.
I see.
Sorry,
So you're basically taking a semi-created metric, like a metric that is useful at some static level, and using that to extrapolate to say, well, we can start somewhere, and here's where we'll start.
Yep.
I gotcha.
And likewise, if I'm designing a drone, and I'm saying, like, what size prop do I need? I don't know. Okay, I want to carry a 5 kilogram weight. I don't know what weighs 5 kilograms. I don't know. I want to carry a 20 kilogram agricultural sprayer. Where do I start? What size prop do I don't even know where to start. Okay, well, let's start with disc loading. Well, that's clearly not going to work. Okay, 24 inches. Well, okay, I would say that roughly 24 inches is the smallest prop I would want to use to carry a 20 kilogram weight. Oh, 36 inches, probably too big. And then obviously I'm going to have to do, like, I wouldn't just start building a 36-inch drone. I would do real world work, but I would say, okay, 24 inches. Okay, let's shoot for what prop? I would say, what props are available? I would go look at what props people make. What sizes are they available? Like, I know 24 inches is widely available. Is 30 inches available? Okay. I would say, okay, I'm going to roughly choose this prop based on a rough disc loading that I want to shoot for. Like, for example, it's going to be an agricultural spray drone, so I'm probably going to want, like, a lot of batteries. So I'm going to shoot for a lower disc loading, which will give me additional thrust and additional cargo capacity to carry extra batteries. So I'm going to shoot for 36-inch props. Great. And then I would say, what motors are the appropriate kV for 36-inch props? What battery voltage is typically used? Like, I would just work from there. And then before I spent any freaking money, I would go back and I would look at the actual thrust test results for those motors. But it's a starting point. Anyway, the real question that people should be asking is, how did I get this? Why do I say that the battery weight and the aircraft weight are the payload weight times 0.6? Oh, that's a bold claim. Well, like I say, you have to start somewhere, but yeah.
Is the spreadsheet available?
It is not available. As I said at the beginning, I actually developed this. Someone hired me to develop this, and I have never published it. I will think about what I would have to do to put it out on my Patreon as a patron bonus. I'm not going to put it out to the world at large. Main reason being that if I just put it out to the world at large without any context, then no one will understand how to use it, and they'll just think I'm an idiot. Because there are many assumptions that are made in the spreadsheet that if you don't know why I made the assumption, you just think I'm a dumbass. But I'll think about putting it out to the patrons. And in the meantime, you can do this math without the spreadsheet. All you have to do is take your disc loading calculator. It's the drone weight in kilograms, the all-up weight, divided by the prop diameter. I use inches, but he uses meters. That's an easy conversion. And then look at Chris Rosser's video. A 5-inch freestyle drone. What is the typical disc loading for a 5-inch freestyle drone? We can just look at this video and say, oh, it's about, let's see, Gep RC Mark IV is around 8. Impulse RC Apex is between 8 and 6. Is this inches, grams per inch? You got to make sure that his disc loading is the same unit that I'm using. But just look at this and go, okay, well, here's what I'm shooting for. I think part of the reason that I have 18 to 24 or 25 as my disc loading guideline, and you see these drones are typically below 14, even the heavy ones, is that my spreadsheet was more tailored towards like heavier lift stuff. Where a freestyle drone with a disc loading of 18 or 20 would feel like a pig. But if you're trying to do heavier lift stuff, then you're not that concerned with agility. And you're just going to shoot for a prop size that gives you a disc loading at the appropriate range. Yeah, that's where I would be. All right. Did we fire off any bingo questions? I feel like I might have interrupted you in there. But I don't know that you interrupted me.
Too.
You think so?
I think I default interrupt you because I end up talking over you because of the delay and you can't see my face.
All right,
I think it's like
Blunty
some scores are going to be easier to get because it's just like going to happen.
All right, we'll give Blunty interrupts Bardwell and Bardwell interrupts Blunty just by default. Okay. I don't think I'm going to get bingo on this one unless I game the system, which I would never do. Okay. KOFPV says, "Oh my God, I left and came back. Are we still on this topic?" Yeah, we are. We talk about things as long as they're interesting to us.
When you dig into the weeds, that's when sometimes you can pull something cool up. You know,
That's
or
good.
you just
It's good shit.
talk for a long time. But yeah, sometimes you learn something.
Yeah, that's good shit. Okay. Unreality FPV says, "Have you seen the guy who implemented ADRC in Betaflight to replace the standard PID controller? Thank you for $5 Canadian." Yeah, I did see that video. YouTube showed me that video. I will now show you in case you're wondering. Betaflight.
Do you go on this?
No, stop that. I don't know why it did that. Betaflight ADRC. So this is engineering robotic. By the way, good thumbnail. Although I have to say, the gaping mouth thumbnail thing is a little played out. Nevertheless, good thumbnail. I clicked. I don't entirely know what an ADRC controller is. But I did a little reading about it after this video came out. And it's basically an alternative to a PID controller. But the advantage of an ADRC controller, as I read, is that it is better for situations where like the weight of the aircraft changes. And so it has different parameters that are more adaptable. Like a commonplace an ADRC controller would be if you have a liquid fuel aircraft where the fuel is burned up. And so at the end of the flight, the aircraft is significantly lighter and maybe has a different weight balance than at the beginning of the flight. And if the ADRC controller is properly tuned, then why did my computer make that sound? Everything seems fine. Then it will continue to fly good. Whereas if you tune the PIDs for when the aircraft is heavy, the PIDs won't be right for when the aircraft is light. So theoretically, an ADRC controller could be good. He specifically is using the ADRC controller to carry a dangling water bottle underneath the drone. And I guess the idea is that the ADRC controller is better at sort of adapting to the movements of the water bottle underneath the drone. I'm not entirely sure. I didn't watch the whole video. It's all very interesting. And by the way, kudos to Engineering Robotic. I don't know the guy's actual name. Kudos to him for like modifying Betaflight. He like reprogrammed Betaflight to have a completely different PID controller. That's not like easy. I don't know. Maybe Claude could do that for me. However, I was like, okay, is this the newest thing? I have to say though, I did again read into the comments. And like here, Captain Ultica says, this didn't work. I tried a whole bunch of things. The drone barely resisted any external influences. It's barely responsive to controls. I reviewed the source code. The theory is simple. It requires some refinement. So, yeah. So
Just
apparently, a little not ready for prime time. Go ahead, Blunty.
Well, let me clear up a couple things. So the guy who made this doesn't know how to fly acro. So you should be.
Okay.
You should understand that, like, this is from some hobbyist guy who's just getting into FPV or has had drones around for a little while, who most likely threw an LLM at this with some coding experience maybe, and knocked this out. As far as I could tell from the project, it is LLM based at least partially, which is cool. It's an interesting idea. It seems to work on some level, but it's like he's using angle mode only. There may be bugs in here, like that same user claims later his drone just immediately flew away and the arming wasn't working correctly. That may be related to him. It may be related to something else, but this is not vetted code. People are not testing this. Just remember all of this stuff if you're messing with a project like this. It's very cool. I don't want to downgrade what he's doing. It's neat. We need these ideas in the hobby. This is how new things get made, is people do stuff like this, and then somebody goes, well, actually, that is a good idea, but we could do it like this, or we could pull it into here. So you should just also know you could wreck a drone, you could hurt somebody. You should know that you're testing a thing that's new and different, and this guy doesn't acro, so none of that stuff may work properly.
Yeah. Why not make this a PR in Betaflight? Because the Betaflight devs, there is no world in which they would accept this PR. 2 reasons. Number 1, the code is not mature enough to be included in a release version of Betaflight. Like, the days when release versions of Betaflight included, like, wacky shit for people to test, those days are gone. Too many people use it. It is too mainstream. There needs to be a Betaflight if you want to try wacky shit. But the other thing is that, like, this, I don't believe that this code is sufficiently bug tested to even be included in, like, an alpha nightly build of Betaflight. It's like, it like just has been kind of knocked out, and there's a lot more work that would need to be done before the devs would consider accepting a pull request, would be my guess. What? Who is this person?
I spent over one.
Huh. Weird.
The algorithm's been throwing me that video for like months and months and months and months and
There's
months.
something different about
out,
this person. I don't know what it is. They seem different than every free FPV pilot I've ever met. I'm sure
That's
I'll figure it
because they're
out.
not an FPV pilot.
What? Who are they?
That's because it's new. They're new to the hobby. Like, you know what I mean? That they're like, they learned in a simulator, and they're like a new person. They're a social media content creator who made a video about FPV.
Wait.
You know what I mean? Like, they're getting into the hobby.
Well, 13K subs. That's not that many subs.
Right,
Wait,
but I'm
is this
saying
the only video? This is their
traditionally-
only video.
Yes, I'm saying they're not a person who has anything to do with the hobby other than learning the sim and getting into it. That's why it's different, because they're not an FPV creator.
What do they have to do with anything? They don't have any. Oh, it's all shorts. It's all shorts. No, it's not even that many shorts. Does this person have content? Anyway, it doesn't matter. On other channels, I guess? Weird. Interesting. Yeah, all right. Yeah. If you want to try this out, go ahead. But it's, like, not ready for prime time and may have serious bugs. Here's the thing. I remember when... what was the name, Valentia, that project that... the AI, it's not a PID controller. It's an AI-based PID controller, but it's not a PID controller. AI Flight or something. And who the frick was the creator who backed it majorly? He kind of stopped making content, and now I'm blanking on his name. I kind of feel embarrassed that I'm blanking on his name.
Are you talking about? Oh.
Come on.
Isn't it Drem Flight?
Chat's gonna know. No.
Wasn't it Drem?
The problem is, no, I don't. That's not ringing a bell. The problem is there's too much AI-related content now.
Yeah, it was Drone Mesh, but
Drone
I can't
Mesh.
remember
That's it. Drone Mesh.
It was Nicholas Drem, wasn't it? The guy who made the.
It was Drone Mesh. That's it.
I think it's Drem Flight is what it's based on.
Drem Flight? That's not ringing a bell, but maybe. So, like, I don't know. I'm not going to find it. My point is that there was this guy. He did a PhD or master's project where he replaced Betaflight's PID controller with an AI-based controller. It's not a PID controller, but basically instead of a PID controller, there's this I don't know what it was, some neural network. Let's call it a neural network. Neural Flight. That was it. I'm going to find it. Neuroflight. That's it, Neuroflight. And I made a video talking about why I wasn't talking about it on a road trip, apparently. It was so popular that I felt like I needed to respond to it. Neuroflight. Yep. And these come out. He wrote a graduate paper about it. And these come out and people are like, oh, that's better. That's the doing. Oh, I want that. It's got TensorFlow. Okay. Here's the thing. It doesn't fly worth a shit. It never actually, like, it did fly. It did fly. Like, I saw a video of it flying. But people are, like, so excited about, oh, the newest.
Hey, what is
oh,
up,
here's
guys,
the
and welcome
thing.
back.
It's different.
Today,
It
I
must be
control the
cool.
form.
Why do we not have... We have nothing. We're just talking. Flight footage. It's like, maybe this will be something someday, but just because it's different than what we have now, don't assume it's better or even desirable. Like, just know that you're a guinea pig when you try this stuff out, and it may suck and be a dead end. So. Famous old school FPV pilot mentioned. Is that a bingo? Is that a bingo card? Maybe. I think I accidentally closed my bingo. I have the URL, thankfully. All right, anyway. I got a $4.99 super chat from Hale FPV who says, I want to build a 10-inch long range. Can you recommend the best parts? First of all, question about long range. Boom. Hey, it may be trolling for the bingo. I don't know. But for a $5 super chat, yeah, there you go. Can you recommend the best parts? Not really. Not really, no. Like I have a 10-inch. Oh, where's my 10-inch? This is my 10-inch back here. It actually currently has 8-inch props on it because I didn't have any 10-inch props. And so I needed to do a little test flight with it. And I just threw some 8-inch props on it because that's all I had. These are Brother Hobby motors, like 980 kV, I do believe. 31 millimeter motors. And then every other part, like as far as the frame, this is just some oddball frame that you can't even buy. Like, that's just not, I don't know, the best stuff for a 10-inch. I don't even know where I would start in that world, to be honest with you. What I would start is GEP-RC 10-inch. Like, I know GEP-RC makes a nice 10-inch long range that I would trust. Do they? No? Okay, never mind. AliExpress. Like, Project 399 has a 10-inch frame, I think. They got a 10-inch, the Super G10. Okay, so, like, this is more a case of, oh, I recognize that thing. Like, the Super G 10-inch is a 10-inch frame that a lot of people talk about whenever we talk about long range. But honestly, this is a world that I just don't live in a lot of the time. And then when I do go into this world, a lot of the times, like, already, like, somebody comes to me and they say, hey, I've got a 10-inch cinema rig and I'm trying to work on it. And the frame that they have is already selected, right? So, like, I'm not making parts recommendations. But, like, if you wanted me to recommend a 10-inch frame, I feel like the Project 399 Super G is solid. It's solid. Look at those freaking arms. Jesus. As for parts, we're going to want about a 30 or 31 millimeter motor in about 900 to 1,000 kV for 6S. And then flight controller and ESC. ESC, you're going to pick something, 60 amp rated or better, 50, 60 amps or better, something reliable. Flight controller, take your pick. Video transmitter, DJI 04. Maybe an analog 3-watt video. TBS Unified DP is a good choice. Yeah. But, like, the best parts, that's hard to nail down. Here's the thing. I almost spent money on this. I almost spent money on this the other day. In fact, I put it in my cart and I ordered it, and then when I saw how much it was going to be, I canceled it And the vendor messaged me on AliExpress and was like, "Hey, is everything okay?"
No, no,
This
no.
is
Was
what? What?
that I don't know. The Mark IV 10-inch is garbage from what I've heard.
Oh,
Total
have you?
garbage.
Well, I'm glad I didn't buy it. Like
Someone just posted in the Discord all caps. Do not buy this frame.
I was like,
yeah.
Gepard C Mark IV was a good frame. Is this frame garbage?
It's a clone, right?
Yeah, it's not even a Mark IV. Like the top plate is completely different design.
But yeah.
But I was like,
terrible.
geez, for $300, sure, I'll give it a punt. But then when you add the shipping, it was like another like $100 in shipping, and I was like, oh, I don't know about that. No, garbage, Cronus. What do you say? What's he saying? I'm looking. I don't see it, Blunty. Chrome says, oh, the clone is absolutely not good. Have you personally experienced it, Chrome? Do not get the Mark IV 10-inch clone frame. Okay, got it. Good. I wasn't about to recommend it. I was about to say, just, like, for the last time I looked for a 10-inch, I was like, I don't know, maybe this one. That's where I'm at. Secure Mall. Okay. That's the other one. I actually have looked at this one. I've looked at this one. And was also surprised. This one is this one any good? The Blicky 10-inch FPV long distance racing drone. 8-inch. 6S, 8S, Flyson 10, 349. Hold on, Blunty, I know you have a question. Yeah. Oh, this one's okay. $250 plus import fees plus shipping. It's not going to be that cheap. Jeez. That's pretty impressive. Go ahead, Blunty.
Dirty Stick says, why would you buy a built drone?
Versus DIY? I mean, if the built drone is good, you're going to save money. Most of the time. And that's a little counterintuitive because usually you save money by DIY, right? But what's going to happen? The thing is, this vendor manufactures 2,000 motors and 1,000 frames and yada yada yada. And so, like, when you buy 4 motors, you pay shipping and product markup, and you do worse because you're paying retail markup and shipping on every single piece that you buy, right? Even if you were to buy all of these components from Secure, and so you're only paying shipping once, you usually will actually come out ahead just buying a bind and fly. Because they'll give you better pricing and their margins are better when they build a bind and fly, even though they have to pay for the labor. The labor is cheap because the labor is in China. Like, there's no world where you could buy all of the parts for an 8-inch drone or a 10-inch drone for $250. I would hazard a guess, especially when you calculate shipping. Where you're going to pay shipping once for the bind and fly drone, and you're going to get motors from here and a frame from there, and you're going to pay shipping multiple times if you do a DIY. It's not always the case, but a lot of times it's the case. $350 for the Flyson 10. Well, that's with DJI. With DJI 04? No. $700 with DJI. This thing, what the frick is this going on with this? What is going on with this frame? This frame, it does not feel good to me.
That guy in chat is very mad. He said, it's not about money. You are not the Bardwell I used to know.
Oh. Sorry. Sorry to let you down, bro.
I mean, it is about money, right? I mean, I don't know.
How is it not about money?
Cheaper?
How is it not about money? Here's the thing.
Magic thing about building. How many drones have you built?
If you want to build a drone, by all means, build a drone. If you can buy a bind and fly, and it is good and it is cheap, why wouldn't you do that? Well, because I want to build a drone. Because I like building drones. Okay, not a problem. If you ask me what parts should I build, I want to build a 5-inch. Recommend parts. Like I just rattle them off for you. The 10-inch world is not as varied. There's not as many parts out there that you can buy. And so like when it comes to building a 10-inch, the first thing I'm going to do, like why does the motor that Secure uses on their 10-inch exist? Why does the motor that GetRC uses on their 10-inch exist? Because they made it for their bind and fly drone, right? So I'm going to go look at the available bind and flies, and then if one of them works for me, I'm just going to buy it. Or I'm going to use that as a jumping off point to build my own. But like the idea that like, oh, old school Bardwell never would have bought a bind and fly, that's absolutely not true. Like whatever, I like we have a parasocial relationship that I'm not really a party to. You are having a relationship with the guy in your head that you see when you watch my videos. And I have no control over who that person is. You invented that person with my help. So, like, if you feel like Bardwell 10 years ago would have done it different, there's nothing I can do to change your mind about that. But I was also there inside my own head 10 years ago, and I watched my own content, and I can tell you, you know, like, I have always loved building drones, and I have always acknowledged that bind and fly drones are often just fine. And if somebody wants to buy a bind and fly instead of building one, there's nothing wrong with that. So, anyway. But especially as we get into more obscure, like 5 inches, there's so many motors you can get for a 5-inch. There's so many props and frames you can get for a 5-inch. When you get up to 10 inches, there is just less selection because there are fewer things in that category. And I think it makes more sense to start looking at what is out there and is this going to work for me? Because you're going to pay so much more money to try to DIY it. Unless you have a very specific need for a very specific thing, I think that the price difference, like for a DIY versus a bind and fly, is going to be more substantial in the 10-inch class. And yeah, money always matters. Anyway. Ricardo Bender says, I don't know what parts to get to build it myself, so bind and fly is the way to go for me. Yeah. I'm going to buy this Secure. Should I buy the 8-inch or the 10-inch? Which would you guys most like to see a review of? The 8-inch or the 10-inch Secure? I want it. Let me do a poll. Start a poll. Excuse me. Which should Bardwell buy and review? The 8-inch or the 10-inch? I wanted to buy... when I saw that you could get a drone at this is a crazy price. I was like, well, I'm going to buy it and review it. Like, how good could it be? $300 for a 10-inch is... I mean, that's a good price for a 5-inch. For a 10-inch, geez. But then, like, apparently first of all, apparently the AliExpress one is garbage, so fine. But also the price was not as good as I thought it was going to be. Chat says the 10-inch for sure. Okay, 10-inch. How much is it actually going to be? So clearly I'm going to go... Should I go with the 2.5 watt? Does it really matter? How much cheaper is it for the 1.6 watt? $258, $278. It's $20 for the 2.5 watt. I'm not actually going to take it out to 50 kilometers or anything. I should just do the 1.6 watt. ELRS 915 versus 2.4. So hang on. I'm going to take this off screen in case it exposes like my credit card information. I don't think it will, but just in case, I'm going to switch scenes and go ahead and buy this. Literally right now on stream, I'm going to buy this for a review. Yeah, so it shows my last four of my credit card number. That might be relevant. $258. What is it going to do for shipping? Let's find out. One more step. Finish paying at Secure. Here we go. There's an issue with your order details. Update your information. Address. Registered mail includes tariffs $70. Woof. So here's the question. Let me change this to my P.O. box. Here's the question, chat. $328 plus $70, $400. Is $400 a good enough price? I mean, where else? That's a good price for a 10-inch. It's not a ridiculously good price, though. Like, when I first saw the price, I was like, wow, that's such a low price. That'll be an interesting video. The other question is, if I spend $400 on this 10-inch drone, is that, like, interesting enough to, like, hook you into watching a video? Blunty, what do you think? You think it's worth $400 to buy this drone and review it?
Are we talking about like objective income that you get back, or
Yeah.
the value?
Am I going to make
No,
$400 off this video? I mean,
don't think
technically,
so.
I will still have the drone. What's that?
But yeah, I mean, if you no, not directly, but if you resale, like if you're talking about resale, if we talk about like the value it adds to your channel, so people enjoy your content, right? Those kind of things.
And I
then
could
you
always,
start to amortize.
I could always sell
differently.
the drone. You think it's good?
Yeah.
You think it's good content? Think I should sell it? Think I should buy it?
I think you could definitely make interesting content from it. Yes.
Well, okay. Let's workshop this. What's the title and thumbnail going to be for this video? I bought a
I can't believe I made it
$400.
through this gap on a 10-inch.
Oh well, there's always that. Yeah. Reviewing a
What's up with you?
$400 Chinese 10-inch drone.
Yeah.
Unreality
Give me
FPV says you could probably get Secure to send it for free. That's a good point. I should reach out to Secure. I probably have a contact at Secure, and I could probably just get them to send it for free. I should try that. Fair enough.
Chat, Brandon Bean says, "Can you really test a 10-inch at your property versus an 8-inch? Should you just get an 8-inch so you can
so
actually test?"
I can. Here's the thing. I can test the cargo capacity, like how does it fly with 5 pounds underneath it, 10 pounds underneath it, whatever. And also I can test like the camera quality, like does the GoPro have a lot of, vibration, which is the thing people care about on a 10-inch if you're trying to do cinematic lifting. I can test the flight time. I could do hover testing with the flight time. I can't do long-range testing, though. I won't be doing long-range testing, testing the range of the video transmitter, because that would get me in trouble with the FAA. But yeah, no, I'm not going to buy it because I can probably save $400 by getting Secure to send it to me for free. I'm going to at least try. Okay, moving on. Have we popped any, I don't think we've popped any more. No. Nope. Again, I've talked about low prices this whole stream, not high prices. All right. Thank you for that question. Dirty Sticks FPV, thank you for a $20 super chat. I quit flying about 3 months after buying a DJI O1 goggle. I still have the goggles and several working air units and Caddx units. Are they worth anything? Never say never, but in short, no. The Caddx Vistas, yes, someone will buy those off of you who still has the V2 goggles. I mean, technically, they still work. So, like, if you want to use the V1 goggles and the Caddx Vistas to fly today, they're 100% usable. That's the best thing you could do, is continue to use them today until they break, and then you got to get something else, though. That's a dead end. The V1 goggles, the Vistas, etc. It's not that you can't get them for any price, but it's basically a dead end. So then, an alternative is you can sell the Vistas. What can you sell the Vistas for these days? The OG air unit, I don't know that you could get any money for it. Caddx Vista, can we search for used? Condition, used. I think you could get $150 for the Vista. I'm not seeing
sold, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. How do I do that, Blunty?
Cannot remember.
Show only sold items. There we go. Caddx Vista air unit sold for $125. Our best offer sold. Caddx Vista $120. Cadix Vista Air Unit 160. So, like, it seems like you could get $100 for the Vista, maybe 120, 125. This one went for 65. It didn't have a camera though. Cadix Vista 110. So, like, if you had 3 or 4 Vistas, you could get a fair amount of money for them and use that to bootstrap your next video system. But the thing is, you're going to need goggles and you're going to need video transmitters, and that's going to cost you a chunk of money. So, like, depending on how many you have, you should just use them. But, like, no, they're basically a dead end. And the only people who are spending money on Vistas are people like you who still have the system from way back in the day and don't want to move on yet. I mean, theoretically, you could buy used Vistas for $100 and keep using them. Like, the performance is fine. Thank you, Notice FPV. Yeah, there's a reason why I would not post content of me blatantly violating the rules. And it's not that I'm just a coward. It's that I have a gigantic target on my back because of my massive audience. And if I were to post myself doing, I guarantee you, if I were to post myself doing a long-range flight, people would report me to the FAA. Number one, because there's people out there who don't like me. I don't know why. I'm incredibly likable. And number two, because there's just people out there who are Karens who, whenever they see somebody breaking the rules, they're gonna. And if the FAA gets enough phone calls, they will come after me. So yeah. There's no world in which I'm going to do long range testing and publish it on the internet in any way that could imply that I had broken the rules. If I could figure out a way to do, like, I had the idea once, I would never actually do this. If I had the idea once to, like, hire a helicopter and take a video transmitter up in a helicopter and fly the helicopter and do a range test with a. And I was like, just screw the FAA. I'll spend any amount of money to make this video the testing wouldn't have been worth it. But it was just like, I was so frustrated that I couldn't just fly my stupid air drone. I was like, I'll just hire a helicopter. They can't tell me what to do. And then I was like, well, the helicopter would screw up the test. It wouldn't, like, and also that test wouldn't be legal for various reasons. So. Yeah, Marco, I could, if it was plausible that I was somewhere outside the USA, then, but like this, like how much work do you want to do? Benjamin Picar says, but you're already flying outside of line of sight in your videos. No, I'm not. Prove it. I have a spotter, and the spotter has eyes on the drone the whole time. That's my claim. Prove that I didn't. Right? My point is, if I put up a video where I say I flew 10 kilometers with this drone, which if I do a long range test, that's basically what I would have to do. I mean, like, you could try to wiggle it by saying I sent this drone to someone else and he did it, but like, I just am not comfortable with that level of risk. So, anyway. Dirty Sticks FPV says, that makes sense. I shouldn't have tried to call you out. I would never have been in the air without you. Thank you for a $10 super chat, Dirty Sticks. No hard feelings, man. No hard feelings. You do what you got to do. But yeah, no hard feelings. You know, like, I acknowledge that I'm not the same person that I was 5 or 10 years ago. None of us are. My priorities are different. My interests are different. And if you sort of fell in love with the channel when I was, 10 years younger and in a different place in my relationship with FPV and a different place with my relationship with my audience, I understand that it can be, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. It can be, you can notice when that changes. And sometimes that makes you not want to watch the content anymore, which is fine. Which is just, that's life. That's how it is. I just don't feel like this is a case where, like, anyway, we don't need to rehash it. So, well, I'm still here. Let's see here. What do you think of the latency of the new Beta FPV HD system? Latency discussion! Latency discussion! The latency of the P1 system is bad, but not unusably bad depending on what kind of flying you're doing. So that's the short version. Still no bingos. Nobody's got bingo yet. Just strap it on your car roof. Going back to the long range question. Strap it on your car roof and drive it away. Doesn't work. That doesn't produce valid results. Number one, because the body of the car affects the results potentially. It affects the propagation pattern of the antenna. Number two, having the device, the video transmitter close to the ground affects the signal. You would have to do a realistic test where you flew up in the air. So there's no way to do an FPV range test without putting the video transmitter on an aircraft and flying it. There's no way. Every other sort of synthetic metric that you use is going to be affected in some way. And there was a time when Bardwell in the past would have just gone, YOLO. Anything's better than nothing. I don't know how famous this really is, I did an antenna test where I was inside my house and I flew a drone around my yard with the antennas inside my house, and I looked at, and Trappy messaged me and he was like, hey bro, this test is complete bullshit. Those weren't his exact words. Like, you're inside the house, the signal is bouncing around, like none of this is in any way valid. And I was like, you can't tell me what to do, it's my channel. But he was basically right, and that whole test was kind of bullshit. And today I'm like, look, I'm not going to do a test that's bullshit just for the sake of like producing a spreadsheet and publishing a result. So anyway. Dirty Sticks FPV, your DJI-01 is not worthless. It is still a very good FPV system if you can get vistas to use it with.
I only fly V1. It's a great system. It's just as good as the day it came out when we were all going, holy crap, there's digital video. This is amazing. It's so great. Everybody wants it. It looks like a GoPro. None of that has changed. It drives me crazy when people say that, and I know you're coming back, and it's not like you don't have the baggage, but it's great. It's a great system. It's wonderful video quality that people begged for 20, 30, 40 years and tried to get. Like,
Is it as good as the 04? No, but shut up. It's very good.
It's so good. It's very good.
It's very good.
Play it constantly.
Yeah, for sure. The cameras for the Vista system are better for FPV than the 03 and the 04. They have better dynamic range and better low light sensitivity than the 03 and the 04. They're worse for finished HD video that you publish to a customer or to the internet or whatever, but they're better for FPV, for sure. Bunty, why do people... Is this the same person from the beginning of the stream asking about the HD0 Box Pro? Or is it just like... I answered the question.
I believe it's the same person.
I answered the question. Oh my god. Oh my god. I answered the question! I have answered this question so many times! I've answered it! Stop it! Okay. My bad. Okay, good. Well, that's appropriate. I'm not going to answer it again. Go back and watch the replay. What question? I had a question pulled up. What was the question? I had it pulled up. I can't find it. Oh well.
It was the 01 question, right? Or no?
No, it's something else. I don't know. Oh, we're almost done. It's 14:55. It's 5 minutes left in the stream. Is Dake FPV flight controller good to use? Is it available in beta flight? I can answer one of those questions for sure. Dake. Oh my god. The fly is driving me crazy. Dake FPV. Yes, Dake FPV is in beta flight as a vendor community target, not like an official target. That doesn't mean it's bad. It just means, god damn it. It just means that they haven't had the. This is driving me crazy. I can't. Stupid. It just means that they haven't gotten like as much integration with the Betaflight devs as they might have. So, and the last time Dake FPV was mentioned on the live stream, people actually had positive things to say about it, which I don't know what the deal is with that. AliExpress, Dake FPV. We saw their flight controllers. Yeah, and I was like, who the hell is Dake FPV? Are they any good? A few people in the chat were like, I've bought the flight controller. It's okay. So, like, I can't personally vouch for them, but they're cheap as shit on AliExpress. So, $50 for a flight controller and ESC. Dang.
I think the thing, I will just say, generally speaking, any of these cheap companies that pop up that are especially cheap like this, and a name you know barely or a little bit, is that like QC can wildly vary, even between batches. Just be prepared. That's all. Just be prepared that you may not get the same thing. Even if somebody goes, hey, this was great this batch, that doesn't mean the next batch is going to be good. You don't have a built brand, right? So, yeah, it's good to know. Yeah.
Chrome says we bought about 25 of them. They were amazing. Then a few months later, we received 10 plus duds. Damn it! I swear. Oh. I have to kill this fly. Bardwell ends stream early because of a bug.
This is like the fly episode.
Let's see here. We're nearly done. Sunshine says, I got a naked GoPro 8 more than 3 years ago. It broke after a crash, more like a hard landing. I did not give it too much voltage. Immediately after, I had a death in the family, sorry to hear that, and health issues, and shelved it. I just found it the other day. No warranty or repair. Is it salvageable? I assume no. Like maybe, a lot of times a naked GoPro will be the guts of a GoPro with an extra like power board, right? And the vendor sells the power board. Like maybe the GoPro is fine, but the power board died. So like maybe you could take the guts of the GoPro out, buy a new naked kit and put it in, and then it would come back to life. Like that's a bit of a punt. It's probably worth it, but I don't know for sure. I don't think the odds are good. All right. Well, I did not get a bingo this live stream, Blunty.
Darn it.
Yeah. Nope. Nobody asked a question about Express LRS. Yeah. Nope.
It's getting
no
too easy
bingo
to
for
use.
me. Did anyone get a bingo?
Yeah, we had a bingo.
I feel like this is the end of the stream. We're coming to the end. Did anyone get a bingo?
Yeah, we had a bingo.
Nobody asked about the new release of Betaflight either. I'm really shocked no one asked about Betaflight 26.6. No, it's over. It's over. That's it. Oh, Matizan 3644 got a recommendation about me from ChatGPT. Well, thank you, ChatGPT. I want some advice from you. If I want to build my own drone by myself, what would be the best path for me? Oh, it's coming for me. The best path would be, are you in the USA? Because if you're outside the USA, I don't think you should buy my build kit. I have a tutorial and a build kit. That's the older version. Here we go. This is a DIY drone kit, and it comes with a full build tutorial by me where I walk you through every single step of the process. So I would recommend starting with my build kit. But of course I would. The main reason I think it's good is not just that I make money on it, although I do make money on it. It's that I have this fully detailed
FPV
tutorial that
drones have
walks
been
you through
descri-
every step of the way. In fact, I would say even if you don't buy my build kit, if you buy some other parts, right? I would say you should still watch my tutorial because all of the steps are the same. It's just like you'll put the wires maybe in a different place, but there's so much information in here that is still super valuable, and I would still suggest you watch my build tutorial even if you don't buy my hardware. There's like a lot of information in there. So that's the direction I would send you. All right, we're going to wrap up. Ciati is streaming, so you can head on over there if you want to keep some more live streaming action. And I'm going to let you go. We'll be back. When will we be back, Blunty? We'll be back tomorrow. Monday. That's right. And then we'll have a little bit of a break. We'll have a little bit of a break until the 19th. So we'll be back tomorrow, and then the 19th of July we'll be back. And in the meantime, I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.
Bye.